Welcome to 1 hour of fun facts. Let's get started. In some medieval monasteries, sexual manuals were written. Not for enjoyment, but to warn about the dangers of carnal desire. Nobles wore makeup with lead powder, believing that pale faces were beautiful, even though they were slowly poisoning themselves. There were documented cases of people being buried alive, which led to the invention of coffins with bells in case the dead person awoke. Animals like pigs and rats were put on trial for crimes, and in some cases, they were publicly executed. Urine was highly valued. It was used to wash clothes, heal wounds, and even whiten teeth. Medicine revolved around the four humors, and it was believed that an excess of phlegm or black bile could cause madness or sadness. At noble banquets, some diners would eat so much that they vomited on purpose, and then continue eating. For amputations, the most common anesthetic was strong wine, or simply a blow to make the patient faint. A pope was tried after his death. Pope Formosus's corpse was dug up, dressed, and placed on a throne to be judged in an ecclesiastical court. Books were so valuable that they were chained to tables in libraries to prevent theft. During certain famines, there are records of cannibalism even within Christian villages. The rite of pernada allowed some feudal lords to spend the first night with the wife of a newly married peasant. In some European courts, black teeth were a status symbol, as only the wealthy could consume excessive amounts of sugar. Women plucked part of their eyebrows and hairlines to achieve a broad forehead, considered very beautiful. Babies were wrapped tightly in bandages, like mummies, so their bodies would grow straight. The beaked masks of plague doctors were not decorative. They contained aromatic herbs to filter the miasmas. Medieval alchemists risked their lives mixing dangerous substances in search of gold or the secret of immortality. Some crusades ended not in the Holy Land, but in the sacking of Christian cities like Constantinople. During the plague, groups of flagellants roamed villages, publicly whipping themselves as penance for the sins of humanity. Some castles had hanging latrines that discharged directly into the moat, sometimes right on top of the invaders. Shoes with long, exaggerated toes were a symbol of sexual desire. The longer they were, the more sinful you were. Lepers were forced to wear bells to announce their presence and avoid contact with others. Despite mandatory celibacy, many clerics had lovers and even illegitimate children. Cranial surgeries were performed. Skulls were drilled to release evil spirits, or relieve extreme headaches. To ensure the legitimacy of an heir, some queens gave birth in public, in front of the entire court. Extreme fasting was considered a virtue. Some nuns died of voluntary starvation for love of God. Menstrual blood was feared. It was believed to wither flowers, turn wine sour, or even cause insanity. Leeches were prescribed for almost everything: fever, colds, depression, or excessive desire. Some torture machines were designed not to kill, but to inflict pain for hours or days without causing death. In 2000, a Spanish Paralympic basketball team won gold, but 10 of the 12 players had no disability. In 1980, marathon runner Rosie Ruiz was declared the winner of the Boston Marathon, but it was later discovered she only ran the last 800 meters. Lance Armstrong won 7 Tours de France titles, all stripped after a massive doping scandal and a movie-worthy cover-up. At the 1954 World Cup, there were rumors that West German players received illegal injections before the final. Chilean goalkeeper Roberto Rojas faked being injured by a flare. He cut himself with a blade hidden in his glove. Tonya Harding was accused of orchestrating an attack on rival Nancy Kerrigan before the 1994 Winter Olympics. In 2002, a figure skating scandal exposed how referees rigged votes between countries to favor certain teams. Ben Johnson won gold in the 100 meters at Seoul in 1988. Only to test positive for steroids days later. In Italian football, Calciopoli revealed that several major clubs manipulated the appointment of referees. During the 2004 Paralympic Games, a Ukrainian swimmer was disqualified for feigning a more severe disability. In baseball, legendary player Gaylord Perry was famous for using Vaseline and other substances to tamper with the ball without the umpire noticing. Cyclist Tom Simpson died during the 1967 Tour de France race from a combination of amphetamines and alcohol in his system. In 2010, the Pakistan cricket team was accused of spot fixing, manipulating only certain moments of the match for illegal betting. At the 2010 World Cup, a Northern Ireland player faked a foul that didn't exist, and was later recorded confessing to it in a bar. At the 1976 Olympics, the East German gymnasts were underage and doped with male steroids. A chess player was caught wearing a small device on his shoe that vibrated in Morse code to tell him the best moves. German goalkeeper Harald Schumacher knocked an opponent unconscious at the 1982 World Cup without penalty, and with suspicions that it was intentional. boxer Luis Resto fought with altered, unpadded gloves, causing irreversible damage to his opponent. In short, several fight-fixing scandals have been reported, but many end up being covered up. In the 1979 New York City Marathon, a runner took the subway for part of the route and almost managed to sneak in among the winners.
Hey, chill!
The Brazilian São Caetano club was sanctioned for faking injuries to strategically lengthen matches. In NASCAR, some teams installed fake gas tanks to lighten their cars and then secretly refilled them. In tennis, the illegal betting scandal has even implicated top 50 world-ranked players. In cycling, the use of hidden motors inside bicycle frames has been discovered. At the 2002 Asian Games, South Korea was accused of rigging boxing and taekwondo in favor of its athletes. An Argentine soccer player faked being hit by a drone to win a match. But video footage proved him wrong. In 2015, more than 200 Russian athletes were found to be involved in a state-run doping program overseen by the government itself. In ice hockey, some players modified their skate edges to intentionally cut opponents in close plays. A Cameroonian goalkeeper in the 1990s was accused of bribing the referee to stop key penalties at the African Cup of Nations. In horse racing, fake urine, equine doping, and even twin horses have been used to evade controls. Some scientists say that time travel is indeed possible. If you moved almost at the speed of light, time would pass more slowly for you than for others. Stephen Hawking once threw a party for time travelers, but only announced it after the fact. No one showed up. There's a theory that if you travel to the past, you don't change your history, but rather create a new timeline. The famous grandfather paradox says, what happens if you travel to the past and prevent your grandfather from having children? Then you wouldn't exist. But if you don't exist, you can't travel to the past. Some scientists believe that certain particles can move backward in time, although this has only been seen in theories. There's a story that the Vatican has a machine called the Chronovisor that can supposedly display images from the past. Wormholes, those tunnels in space-time, could be gateways to time travel, if we ever manage to control them. There are theories that if there are many parallel universes, time travel would be like changing universes. Some scientific ideas accept the possibility that time can curve around itself, allowing us to return to the past. In 2000, a man named John Titor appeared on the internet, claiming to be from the future. He made some very strange predictions. Some didn't come true, but others did. There are theories that say the universe wouldn't let you cause paradoxes. If you try to change something important in the past, something would always go wrong. According to some ideas in physics, time doesn't just move forward. It may be our mind that perceives it that way. Some people believe that déjà vu is a sign that you've already experienced that moment in another timeline. In the 1980s, Russian scientists said they received a radio signal that seemed to come from the future. It was never fully explained. There are objects found in excavations that seem too modern for their time. Some believe they are evidence of time travel. One theory says that the past, present, and future are already written, and time travel would be like moving through a pre-recorded movie. Some scientists have imagined particles called tachyons, which are faster than light and could travel backward in time. A popular idea is that every decision we make creates a new reality. Time travel would be like jumping between those realities. A famous formula by Einstein shows how time slows down as you approach the speed of light. This has been proven with super-precise clocks. Some theories say that time only exists if someone is watching it. Without anyone watching, time doesn't move forward. Some believe that a super-advanced artificial intelligence from the future could be changing things in our past without us knowing. A mathematician named Gödel proposed that if the universe rotated enough, it could allow time travel. Some believe that certain dreams or strange experiences are small connections to other times. Retrocausality is an idea that says what you do in the future can influence the past, even if it sounds like science fiction. The famous Mandela effect, remembering things differently, has been explained by some as changes in history caused by time travelers. Some theories suggest that certain particles could affect themselves from the future, which confuses even scientists. There are ideas that suggest black holes could be gateways to the past or the future, if they don't destroy you first. Quantum entanglement has led to theories that messages from the future could travel through connected particles. Some physicists think the past isn't fixed. It's only decided when we observe it, which means it could change. An idea called the Novikov paradox says that everything you do in the past is already included in your history, so you can't change it. And finally, some mathematical models of the universe see it as a giant donut. If you keep walking in a straight line, you could return to the same point, in another time. Some ancient versions of the Bible include books that are no longer present today, such as the Book of Enoch or the Gospel of Thomas. No verse mentions that the devil was an angel named Lucifer. That idea was built on much later through interpretations. The Bible doesn't say that Eve ate an apple. It only mentions the fruit of the tree. There are more than 200 known copying errors in ancient manuscripts of the New Testament. The shortest book in the Bible is 2 John, with only 13 verses. The Bible has been the most stolen book in the world, especially in hotels and religious bookstores. There are passages in the Bible that speak of giants, like the Nephilim in Genesis. The oldest person in the Bible is Methuselah, who lived 969 years. The exact middle verse in the Bible is Psalm 118 verse 8, which says, "It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man." In the Old Testament, there is a law that forbids mixing fabrics, Leviticus 19 verse 19, something few people know today. The Bible was originally written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Ancient Greek. In Judges 4, a woman named Jael kills a man by driving a stake through his head while he sleeps. In the book of Numbers, a donkey speaks to its owner after seeing an angel. There is a psalm, Psalm 137, that says, "Blessed is he who takes your children and dashes them against the rocks." A highly controversial and rarely cited verse. The first complete translation of the Bible into English was made in secret by John Wycliffe, who was condemned for it. In Revelation, a creature with 7 heads and 10 horns is mentioned. Jesus never wrote anything in the Bible, except for one time when he wrote on the ground. But it doesn't say what he wrote. God's name is never mentioned in the book of Esther. There are more than 180 apparent contradictions between the Gospels, according to comparative studies. Some biblical figures had more than one wife at a time, such as Solomon, who had 700 wives and 300 concubines. The Bible mentions that there was a time when the sun stood still in the sky for hours. Joshua 10 verse 13. Jesus had brothers and sisters according to Mark 6 verse 3, something that contradicts the idea that Mary was a virgin. The Bible prohibits eating shellfish, tattoos, or shaving one's beard in certain Old Testament texts. In Revelation, an army of 200 million horsemen is described, more than the entire world population in ancient times. The Bible was used to justify both slavery and its abolition, depending on how its verses were interpreted. There are more references to wealth and money than to heaven or hell. Hell as we know it, with fire and eternal punishment, does not appear in this way in the Old Testament. The word Trinity does not appear anywhere in the Bible. The Apostle Paul wrote more than half of the New Testament, and many of his letters were sent to communities in conflict. There are ancient texts that narrate miracles of Jesus not mentioned in the Gospels, such as bringing molded clay to life in the shape of birds. And although many believe it, there were not 3 wise men, nor is it mentioned that they were kings. It only says that they were wise men from the East, and that they brought 3 gifts. The first Homo sapiens appeared about 300,000 years ago in Africa. Homo neanderthalensis had a larger brain than modern humans. Some modern humans still retain up to 2% Neanderthal DNA. There was a tiny human species called Homo floresiensis, which was barely 1 meter tall. For thousands of years, several human species coexisted simultaneously. Prehistoric humans already used natural pigments to paint their bodies and caves. Life expectancy was around 30 years, although some lived longer. Most human groups were nomadic and moved according to the seasons. Before carving stone, they already used bones as tools. More than 100,000 years ago, ritual burials were already practiced. Stone was the main raw material for making tools for millions of years. Fire began to be used over 1 million years ago. The first knives were simple sharpened stones known as flakes. The bow and arrow appeared about 64,000 years ago. Bone needles were invented for sewing hides and making clothing. During the Neolithic, stones were polished to make more durable tools. Domesticating animals was a key advancement that occurred about 10,000 years ago. They also invented stone hand mills for grinding grain. Although the wheel was invented early, it wasn't used for transportation until much later. They used traps and spears to hunt giant animals like mammoths. The oldest cave paintings are over 40,000 years old. Some prehistoric flutes were made from bird bones. The famous Altamira Cave was discovered by a girl in 1879. Negative painted hands appear in caves around the world. There is evidence that religious figures or shamans already existed. They carved fertility figures, such as the well-known Venus of Willendorf. Some caves show traces of collective dance or rituals. Prehistoric symbols may have been the origin of writing. They wore body ornaments made from shells, bones, or animal teeth. They probably sang and told stories orally from very early on. They lived in caves, huts made of branches, or in stone structures. Before becoming farmers, they were hunter-gatherers. Their diet included wild fruits, roots, meat, and fish. Women played an essential role in food gathering. The wolf was domesticated and became the ancestor of the dog. Pottery appeared even before agriculture. The first villages were small and had circular houses. In many tribes, a division of labor already existed. Before writing was known, some cultures were already erecting enormous stones, such as megaliths. Barter was the primary form of exchange. Skulls have been found with signs of surgery, such as trepanations. Wheat and corn did not exist in prehistoric Europe. The first Olympic Games in history were held in 776 BC in ancient Greece. Only free Greek men could compete, and they did so completely naked. Women were forbidden even to attend as spectators. Although there were separate women's games in honor of Hera. During the ancient Olympic Games, a sacred truce was declared between warring cities. The only prize was an olive wreath, but athletes were treated as heroes in their city. The ancient Olympics only had a few events, such as running, wrestling, and discus throwing. The modern Olympic Games began in Athens in 1896, promoted by Pierre de Coubertin. Only 14 countries and about 241 people participated in those first modern games. Women first participated in the Olympic Games in 1900 in Paris. The Olympic Games have been cancelled 3 times, in 1916, 1940, and 1944 due to the World Wars. The Olympic flame is inspired by an ancient Greek ritual. But the modern tradition began in 1928. The Olympic torch relay was introduced by the Nazis in Berlin in 1936. The 5 Rings logo represents the 5 continents united by Olympism. The colors of the rings, blue, yellow, black, green, and red, were chosen because at least one appears on every flag in the world. Olympic athletes have not always been amateurs. Since the 1980s, professionals have been allowed in most sports. In 1904, the Olympic Games included a rope climbing competition. The marathon has a specific distance of 42.195 kilometers due to a request from the Queen at the 1908 London Games. At the 1900 Games in Paris, pigeon shooting used real birds. Swimmer Michael Phelps is the most decorated athlete in Olympic history, with 23 gold medals. Usain Bolt holds the Olympic record for the 100-200 meters and is considered the fastest man in history. In 1960, Abebe Bikila won the Olympic marathon running barefoot through the streets of Rome. At the 1992 Games in Barcelona, the U.S. basketball team was nicknamed the Dream Team. In 2021, Tokyo became the first city to host the Summer Olympics twice. The Winter Olympics began in 1924 in Chamonix, France. At the 2012 London Olympics, every participating country had at least one woman. The modern Olympic mascot first appeared in Munich in 1972. Some additions have included unusual sports such as croquet, deer shooting, and art. The 2024 Paris Olympics will be the first to include breakdancing as an official discipline. The country with the most medals in Olympic history is the United States. The modern Olympic Games have the motto Citius, Altius, Fortius, which means faster, higher, stronger. Temples older than the pyramids, such as Göbekli Tepe, have been found in Turkey. During the Ice Age, glaciers covered much of northern Europe. The cat was domesticated around 9,000 years ago in the Near East. Some burials included flowers, suggesting affection and symbolism. There are indications that women may have had equal roles in certain societies. Some stone weapons were decorated with symbols or engravings. What may be maps carved into ancient stones have been found. The famous Hollywood sign originally read Hollywood Land and was a real estate advertisement. The first feature film shot in Hollywood was in Old California in 1910. The Hollywood sign has been rebuilt several times and is guarded to prevent vandalism. In its early days, Hollywood was chosen for its pleasant climate and its distance from Edison's patents on the East Coast. The first Academy Awards ceremony lasted just 15 minutes and was held in 1929. Walt Disney holds the record for the most Oscars won by a single person, with 22 statuettes. During World War II, the Hollywood sign deteriorated so much that it was nearly demolished. Charlie Chaplin never won a competitive Oscar during his lifetime, only honorary ones. Actress Hedy Lamarr, in addition to being a movie star, invented a technology that was the precursor to Wi-Fi. Marilyn Monroe had a higher-than-average IQ, 168. The most stolen star on the Walk of Fame is Marilyn Monroe's. The Hollywood Walk of Fame has more than 2,700 stars on its sidewalks. In the 1950s, Hollywood was investigated for alleged communist sympathies in what was called the witch hunt. The first film with synchronized sound was The Jazz Singer in 1927. Steven Spielberg was rejected 3 times by the University of Southern California before becoming a film icon. The highest-grossing film in history, adjusted for inflation, remains Gone with the Wind. The set of The Wizard of Oz was so toxic that several actors suffered food poisoning or burns. The Tin Man's suit originally used aluminum paint, which made the lead actor seriously ill. Universal Studios offers one of the oldest Hollywood tours, operating since 1915. In Hollywood's golden age, the studios controlled almost every aspect of actors' lives. Audrey Hepburn did most of her own scenes in Breakfast at Tiffany's, including the famous window display scene. The sound of the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer lion's roar was recorded with a real lion named Jackie. Arnold Schwarzenegger only spoke 17 lines in Terminator, including the iconic "I'll be back."
I'll be back.
Michael Myers' mask in Halloween is actually a modified mask of Captain Kirk from Star Trek. The budget for Titanic was higher than the actual cost of the original ship. La La Land was mistakenly announced as the winner of the Oscar for Best Picture in 2017. In 1994, Hollywood studios briefly shut down due to a major earthquake in Los Angeles. Silent films were often louder than talkies because of live accompaniment in theaters. Many famous actors started out as extras or in uncredited roles, including Brad Pitt and Clint Eastwood. Jesus appears in the Quran more times by name than the Prophet Muhammad himself. Yes, in Islam, Jesus, Isa, is a revered prophet, and his story is central to several chapters of the Quran. Mary, the mother of Jesus, has an entire chapter named after her in the Quran. She is considered one of the purest and most blessed women of all humanity. For Muslims, Adam was not only the first man, he was also the first prophet. Thus begins the prophetic line that connects all of God's great messengers. Islam recognizes more than 124,000 prophets sent by God to different peoples and civilizations. This includes ancient cultures we may not even imagine. The majority of the world's Muslims are not Arabs. More than 60% live in Asia. And the country with the largest number of Muslims isn't Arabia. It's Indonesia. Before becoming a prophet, Muhammad was an honest merchant and was known as the trustworthy one. People everywhere entrusted him with their possessions, long before they knew they would receive a divine revelation. In Islam, every person is born without original sin. You inherit no guilt from anyone. You are born pure, and your actions define your path. Even animals will receive justice on the Day of Judgment, according to Islam. If a human being caused an animal to suffer unjustly, that act will not go unpunished. Dying by drowning, burning, or giving birth makes you a martyr in Islamic tradition. You don't need to die in a holy war. Martyrdom can also be found in human suffering. The first call to prayer in history was made by a former African slave named Bilal. His voice marked the beginning of a tradition that continues every day around the world. Islam was one of the first religions to declare that no race is superior to another. The Prophet Muhammad said it in his last sermon, "We are all equal before God." The Quran mentions scientific details centuries before they were discovered by science, such as the expansion of the universe or the development of the human embryo. Washing your hands, feet, and face 5 times a day is not just a matter of faith. It is also hygiene. During Ramadan, Muslims fast not only from food, but also from bad deeds. They avoid insults, fights, and even negative thoughts. It is a fast of the body and of the soul. Memorizing the entire Quran is possible, and those who do so are called Hafiz. It's not about repeating like a robot. They must understand, recite, and live the message. Islam means surrender or giving up, but not to humans, but to God. It's a way of life based on total trust in the Creator. Seeking knowledge is obligatory for both men and women. Education is a spiritual right and duty in Islam. Men and women pray separately in the mosque to avoid distractions, not because of inferiority. Everything is designed to focus the mind and heart on prayer. Muslim prayers are scheduled according to the exact position of the sun. That's why they change every day. And many mosques have clocks that mark each exact moment. The Quran prohibits the consumption of pork and alcohol for spiritual reasons, and also for health reasons. Many of these foods can affect the body and mind, according to Islam. Although a man may marry up to 4 wives, he must treat them all fairly. And if he can't do so equitably, he shouldn't have more than one. Walking around the Kaaba follows the same direction in which the planets rotate. It is a symbol of order, unity, and connection with the universe. The Quran wasn't revealed all at once. It arrived little by little over 23 years. It adapted to the times and needs of the people as they occurred. Reciting the Quran correctly is an art with rules called tajwid. It's not just reading. It's singing, feeling, and pronouncing each word with reverence. The first foreign land to protect Muslims was Christian, Ethiopia. The Negus king offered them refuge, demonstrating that faith does not always divide. The word jihad does not mean holy war. Its true meaning is striving or internal struggle to be a better person. Wearing a turban or a long beard is not mandatory in Islam. Much of this comes from culture, not religion. Islam teaches that God has no image, form, or gender. There are no statues or representations. Only the pure idea of the divine. Some verses in the Quran focus on the environment and the protection of natural resources. Caring for the earth is also an act of faith. You don't need to be Muslim for God to love you. According to many passages in the Quran, kindness, justice, and a good heart are what matter most. Hinduism has no specific founder. It is one of the oldest religions in the world and arose organically, not through the preaching of a single person. In Hinduism, it is believed that the universe goes through infinite cycles of creation and destruction. As if the Big Bang were just one of many. Buddha never declared himself a god, nor did he ask to be worshipped. He was a spiritual master who taught how to free oneself from suffering. The word karma doesn't mean punishment, but action and consequence. What you do, good or bad, simply comes back, sooner or later. In Hinduism, there are more than 33 million deities, but they are all manifestations of the same divine energy. It's like looking at the same light through millions of different lenses. The symbol of Buddhism isn't Fat Buddha, it's the wheel of Dharma. It represents the path to enlightenment, not fortune. In Buddhism, even the desire to be happy can be an obstacle, because attachment, even to pleasure, causes suffering. Shiva, one of the most important gods in Hinduism, is known as the Destroyer, but also as the Great Transformer. He destroys so that something new can emerge. Hinduism believes that the soul, Atman, is eternal, but the ego is an illusion. Therefore, all suffering comes from clinging to an identity that isn't real. In Buddhism, there is no concept of an eternal soul, as there is in other religions. Consciousness is constantly changing, and there is no fixed self that reincarnates. Buddhist monks can train their minds to control bodily functions such as temperature or heart rate. All through the power of meditation. Yoga isn't just physical exercise. It's a spiritual discipline that unites mind, body, and spirit. And it's deeply sacred within Hinduism. In India, cows are sacred not because they're goddesses, but because they represent life, abundance, and motherhood. Hinduism doesn't impose a single spiritual path. You can worship a god, meditate in silence, or study sacred texts. Anything is valid. Buddha achieved enlightenment sitting under a tree, and that tree still exists in India. It's called the Bodhi tree, and it's a place of pilgrimage. In Buddhism, enlightenment isn't going to heaven. It's freeing yourself from the cycle of suffering. It's understanding that nothing is permanent and being at peace with that. The god Ganesha has an elephant head because, according to legend, his father Shiva decapitated him without knowing he was his son, and then brought him back to life. Impossible to forget that story. Buddhism doesn't need temples or elaborate rituals. You only need your mind and the commitment to transform it. Hinduism believes that each person has a dharma, a unique mission in this life. Following it is the key to a harmonious existence. Many Buddhist monks take vows of silence for years. Not as punishment, but as training to truly listen. The concept of Maya in Hinduism says that what we see as real is actually an illusion, as if we were living in some kind of spiritual matrix. Buddhism teaches that everything is born, changes, and dies. Even our thoughts. That's why we shouldn't cling to any of them. Mantras aren't magic words. They are vibrations that reprogram your mind and connect with your inner energy. In Hinduism, the universe itself vibrates with the sound Om. It is the primordial sound, the frequency of existence. Buddhists don't seek to convert others. The practice is so personal that you don't even need to call yourself Buddhist to follow the path. There are atheist Buddhists, believing Buddhists, and agnostic Buddhists. Because faith in a god isn't essential, but rather inner awakening. The oldest sacred Hindu texts, the Vedas, are more than 3,000 years old. And many of their concepts are still relevant today. Buddhism was the first religion to prohibit discrimination based on class or caste. All beings have equal value, regardless of their origin. Many Hindu sages entered such deep states of meditation that their breathing was almost imperceptible for days. Both Hinduism and Buddhism believe in reincarnation, but with nuances. While one speaks of an eternal soul, the other speaks of continuity of consciousness. Both religions promote compassion, nonviolence, and respect for all life. That's why many of their practitioners are vegetarians, out of spiritual conviction, not dietary considerations. Congratulations! You've completed an hour full of interesting facts. Remember, there's still more to discover. We're waiting for you with more incredible content that you won't want to miss.